Welcome to another edition of Video Books. Today we're going to cover the exciting book by Chip and Dan Heath called Switch: How to Change Things When Change is Hard. I've been involved in change efforts both at a personal level as well as an organizational level, and I have found this book to be refreshing and rewarding. So let's jump right in. The book is written by Chip and Dan Heath, two brothers who had earlier also written another interesting book that I'm going to cover with you called Made to Stick. The Heath brothers start with the question: if change is hard, why do people do some of these things? Like, why do they have babies? They know life is going to be upside down, but they still go ahead. What makes it so? And as we examine this, you'll become clear to you as to what you could do about the change you want to have in your life. We're going to delve into the secret of how to make successful change happen, because it does have a common pattern. The core metaphor of this book is drawn from Jonathan Haidt's book, The Happiness Hypothesis, in which he talks about three things: the elephant, the rider, and the pathway. The elephant is emotion, and the rider is the reason, and the pathway is the habit and the environment. You take care of all these three, and change becomes far more easier to deal with. So let's look at the rider's problem: reason. The problem is data overload, leading to analysis paralysis. You got too many things in front of you, you don't know which one to choose, and so you just stay stuck. So what you need to do is to direct your reason, or direct the rider. And in the next couple of examples, I will show you how exactly this was done. Take, for example, directing the rider for a problem of solving malnutrition in Vietnam. How could we deal with it? The man behind this was Jerry Sternin from Save the Children, and he realized that we had lots of data. It was true but useless, and his premise was we need to stop analyzing the data, get into the field and find what's working. And his idea was that of positive deviance. So he would go into places and ask the question, which kids are healthy, what are their mothers doing, and then copy the deviance. For example, they found out that mothers whose children were healthy were using sweet potato leaves, which was normally discarded in that community, and they would add it to tiny shrimp that they would find in the rice fields. Plus, they would feed them small meals 4 times a day rather than just 2. This led to their kids being far more healthier than the average level in that area. Jerry's ideas on positive deviance left a huge mark on the world, and tens of thousands of children around the world owe much to him. Jerry passed away in 2008, and a wonderful man who has added much to this world. So when we do root cause analysis, too often in companies it is used to beat up people when things don't work. But have you noticed one thing? We don't do a root cause analysis when we succeed. What if you could find out what helped us succeed and then scale that up, did more of it? Take the field of psychotherapy. Now, it could take up to 5 years to figure out what the problem was. And you would have already spent tens of thousands of dollars during this time. And all you actually found out was that your mother was not good to you. Instead, some psychologists took a different track, and Steve DeShazer and Insoo Kim Berg came up with this idea of the brief family therapy. Instead of spending 5 years, let's spend a few months. And they really focused no longer on the question of why, but how could we solve this problem. Giving simple steps, they were able to make dramatic progress for many of their patients. So if we need to direct the rider, we need to script critical moves. What does that mean? Not all the details of the plan, but what are the few things that we need to focus our mind on? For example, it is complex to have a whole rule book on how you should lose weight and get healthy. What if you could find some simple way of doing that? Health authorities, in trying to find out a way forward on solving the problem of obesity, came up with a simple solution. Instead of telling people 10 different things to do, they simply said, move to 1% milk. That was it. This one step helped the health of many people. They were focusing on the one critical thing that people need to do to get healthy. So in making change happen, we have to point the direction, because ambiguity kills change. Simple, clear, specific steps to making change happen. I want to take a case study of BP that this book talks about. And BP was, of course, one of the most successful and has been one of the most successful companies in this area. And this had a goal of cutting exploration cost from $5 per barrel to $1. And all this time, complexity was increasing and the depth that they drilled to was increasing. It was a challenge. Could they do this goal or not? So they set up this mandate: no dry holes. No dry holes. Of course, all the people were irate with this, saying, how could this possibly be? But what it did was that it left no place to hide. And you could no longer say when he came up with a dry hole, it's been a learning experience, or it's been strategic, and so there has been some value to that. So let's move to the elephant. How do you motivate the elephant? How do you motivate the emotions in it? First, you got to find the feeling. What are people feeling about it? Unless we connect with the feeling, the action will not take place, irrespective of how logical and reasonable it may be. For example, software developers, when they make their products, will try answering some of the questions the users raise. And at the back of their head, the point they're saying is, what dumb people, just read the manual. Many software companies now resort to finding the feeling through the user experience. They look at users through a one-way glass to actually notice, where do they stop? Why is he frowning? Why has he got stuck? And this gives them a way forward on what they should actually do. How else could we motivate the elephant? Well, here's the way forward: shrink the change. This was a case study about maids working in a hotel. They thought that they don't exercise, in fact they don't even have the time to do so, and so they were not healthy. However, one test group was told the number of calories that they burnt by making a bed, by cleaning the toilets, and one group was not told that. They were simply told the benefits of exercise. The test group lost 1.8 pounds in 4 weeks. What was the difference? The difference was the finish line became closer. It became doable for them. Here's another example of shrinking the change. This is Dave Ramsey, who wrote the Total Money Makeover book and dealing with your debt issue. So how do we motivate the elephant here? His steps were really simple. List your debt, rank it from smallest to the biggest, pay the minimum for each debt. After this, focus all remaining cash on closing the smallest debt, not the one with the highest interest. Because big change comes from making small changes happen. Once people started seeing a loan close, they got motivated to actually make the bigger changes. Third step, shaping the path, shaping the path. Edward Deming, another example, medication errors. And this is a case taken from the Kaiser South Hospital. And all the nurses worked extremely hard. There still were over 250 errors per year. This was a serious matter. They found the errors happened because the nurses kept getting interrupted. So they asked them to wear these bright orange vests, meaning, don't bother me now, I'm giving out medication. To reduce the medication errors, they started tweaking the situation. How else can we help? Well, you've got to build habits that don't tax the rider. And this dealt with the intravenous line infections that pretty much happened in hospitals because of lack of care. And you know what the solution was? The humble checklist. They asked doctors to do something that they already knew. For example, wash your hands. And using the checklist, something dramatic started happening. Errors were down by 47%. What looks like a people problem may well be a situation issue. So the summary: elephant is the emotion, the rider is the reason, the pathway is habit, and controlling the environment for a better result. So should you buy this book? I must say that I love this work that the Heath brothers have done. There are lots of great case studies in this book. If you're leading any change effort, this book is a no-brainer. But I would also recommend that you check out John Carter's 8-step model in his 2 books, The Heart of Change and Our Iceberg is Melting. Both Both books have been extremely useful. I've used it many times, and I would strongly recommend you to use it if you are leading a change effort. I do have a request to make. If you have enjoyed it, please go to bertcherianreviews.com and give me a rating. Thanks for your time, and I do hope that you will enjoy the rest of the day.